This is the Ron Pertee Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ron Pertee Show. This week we have an amazing guest coming up here in a little while. Thom Carnell is fantastic. He is, I've known him for years now. Cut me in half and count the rings, and then you'll be able to, but anyway. So I don't know where Nate is. He's kind of done like an Artie Lang thing, which is weird. I hope he's not on heroin. But who knows where he is? He could be hiding a body for all we know. But I want to talk a little bit about this week. How I hope everybody had a good Halloween, because I know we were live on Halloween and everybody seemed to be out dressed as slutty zombies and all sorts of other fun stuff. But today, before we bring up Thom, I want to say that today, in the year of on November 7th, the year of our Lord 2023, your boy had some sex. Just gonna say it. Just gonna throw it out there. And you'll notice I'm in a much more jovial mood. I'm not. Yeah, it was fantastic, and it's one of these things where you kind of meet someone and you just kind of click with them. Everything is just perfect, and you don't want it to end, and you want it to just it's just amazing, and it's like you revel in each other, and you just enjoy each other, and you just kind of it's like one of those feelings that you never ever want to end. And God, she was hot too. Let's just be real honest here. She still is hot. She didn't stop being hot because I had sex with her. That would be weird. But yeah, so she's just fantastic, and I think she's listening. So hi, how's it going? But yeah, if you ever meet someone and you have that kind of connection where it's just like two people become one type thing, it's just fantastic. And I really can't put words to it completely. So basically what I'm saying is, but I didn't want that to loop, but that's horrible. Sorry, folks. Technical issues. I blame Nate. He's not here. I don't know what he's doing. But there's a lot to talk about with tonight's guest. There's a lot to talk about. The man's been writing since paper was invented. And everything is fantastic. Here's the thing. Here's the best part. Is I met him when someone decided, hey, let's interview this schlub from Wisconsin who made a zombie movie that's like 2.5 minutes long. And that's how I met him. And then a buddy of mine actually bought me a copy of Thom's book, No Flesh Shall Be Spared, for Christmas, and I believe it's autographed. I have to look, but because I always think it's funny when I have things autographed by people I know, and I'm like that I can just message on Facebook. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, that's great. Yeah, I love it. Don't get me wrong. And Thom is fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring him up now. If he's good in the green room, give me the thumbs up if you're ready to go. Awesome. All right, we'll bring him up. Welcome, Thom Carnell. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ron.
It's you were on before, but it was like years ago.
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I went into exile.
Before you went into training with Rachel Gould. Yeah, you
that's
really
truer
are.
Than you know. That's truer than you know.
Okay, you're a Batman fan. How do you say it? Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul?
I don't know.
Because I go by the animated series.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Ra's al Ghul. Because you see everybody who's watching the live feed, there's Batman in the background and in the foreground here. He is. See, I got Superman all over. I don't have Superman where I should have him. I have the Fangoria article that was written about me by Dave Pace.
Oh, nice.
And I have that blown up. And I actually reached out to Fangoria to get the actual article instead of having to piece it together in Photoshop. And they never got back to me. So whatever.
And I don't know. That new management is super non-communicative, I'll say.
Yeah, it's weird, but
I think
they're
doing their own thing, though. They're trying. It's a big legacy to sort of take over, and so
right.
I'm sure they're just going like, we're going to try to make it our own, and we don't want anyone, like old writers or old content or whatever. Even though our cover looks exactly.
The cover hasn't changed at all. It's exactly the same.
Fine. That's fine. it's all I've done publishing. That job, that is a hard job.
I bet.
Not only coming up with stuff, which for me was always not hard, but advertisers and dealing with subscribers and all that other stuff. It's work, and I didn't get into this to work.
Right? Exactly. It's like exactly.
Look at me. I'm like a 64-year-old child.
Well, and that's the thing is people are like, "Oh, you host a show. It can't be that hard." Then you do it.
It is.
It is. And whenever, and that's why I love it whenever people like, and I know that he's changed over the years, but whenever people shit on Howard, you got to, it's like
We've talked about this. Stern is one of the best interviewers on the planet.
Yes.
If you can wade through all the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still think that his best era was when they first got to Sirius till right when Artie left. I think Artie, and I hate to see Artie the way he is, but
although I see pictures of him now and again on people's feeds and stuff, and he looks good.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of weight.
Yeah. But,
which is funny because he was a heroin addict and he got fatter.
It's deeper than that. I think you can see that glow coming out of him.
Right. Yeah. Which is a good thing. Yeah. But like, people like Howard and Conan were the ones that really got me into wanting to broadcast in the first place. And then I went back and watched early Letterman and Carson and stuff like that. And I realized that the Tonight Show was dead once Johnny left. But
Johnny was awesome. Go back and look at some of those. There are these compilation videos of him and Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh yeah, they're hilarious.
It's a work of art. You just see Johnny like teeing him up for him, like just popping him up just so that he can spike him down. Good stuff.
My favorite video is when Sinatra's out there being interviewed and Rickles just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That is so good.
There's so much good stuff on there.
Yeah, if you haven't, go back and watch some stuff. It's
back in the day, like in the 60s and 70s, it was synonymous that like they used to talk about how nobody made it to the last half hour of the Tonight Show because either they fell asleep or they were having sex. So
well, I mean that's yeah. So
cool.
It is what it is, I suppose. But you have such an amazing story. And I'm going to go all the way back. You were one of the first Chuck E. Cheese mascots.
Yeah, back when I was just out of high school, they opened up the first one in San Jose, California, and I went to work there as a cook. And Nolan Bushnell worked there, or didn't work there, but he owned the thing, and he was the guy who came up with Atari and what have you.
All right.
And so he used to come into the kitchen and when he'd come there for meetings or whatever, and he'd go, "You come here," and we'd drag him in. They'd drag us out to play Space Invaders back when Space Invaders was the thing.
Right. Hold that thought, Space Invaders, because he finally shows up.
Oh,
the Artie Lang of the Ron Pertee show. Were you on heroin? I don't know if you can hear me.
I apologize. I was on the connector.
On heroin? You were on heroin?
On heroin.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't worry about it. I'm okay now. But,
Yeah,
just...
you lost all that weight from the heroin and you gained it all back. Yes, you're fine. You're fine. But you were talking... Okay, Tom, you were talking... you were playing Space Invaders and all that kind of stuff, yes.
Yeah. So Nolan would be like... You would get to talking, and then so he would be like, oh, and so when he'd come back to do photo shoots for the initial packaging and marketing plan and all this other stuff, he'd do the exact same thing. He'd come into the kitchen and go, "You come here, put this head on." And so a lot of the early photos for Chuck E. Cheese is me going,
wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. It was back in the days. This is like late 70s.
So this is before everything went animatronic and stuff like that.
No, there was animatronics. I had a guy that I used to work with that designed them, and he used to make them say really filthy things on the side when we were closed. But one of the characters, Mr. Munch, was a big like Cookie Monster thing, and they had Mr. Munch's Madhouse, which is a very small room that was padded. So Mr. Munch would wade in there with about 15 6-year-olds. batting them around like Godzilla, Awesome. And the parents would come up and go, "Oh, thank you so much for playing with our kids.
Thank you so much for like not. We don't have to watch them for 10 minutes."
Yeah.
That's
now Chuck E. Cheese is like a chaotic wasteland.
And you know what's funny is you can order Chuck E. Cheese on pizza on DoorDash. It's like if I want to eat cardboard, I'll just go into my half bath and grab a box.
I used to make incredible food there. You know, like big calzones.
I believe it.
Yeah, they never weighed anything. So
What's that?
They got into trouble with their pizzas. Like
I'm sure they did.
I want to say 3 years ago or so, where it was like they took other people's leftover pizza and put them together to make one whole pizza.
What the fuck? That's like eating off of somebody's plate.
Fat, but I'm not that fat.
And then when my kids were born, we would go there and go in the ball pit, and I would slaughter children in that ball pit. My own, of course, but you know, holding them up way above your head and slamming them into these balls. Awesome.
Fantastic stuff.
Good
now,
time.
Did you ever get into like knife fights with the Showbiz Pizza Bear? No? Because that would have been fucking hilarious. Just watching a knife fight, like, you know, with Billy Bob and Chuck.
Mascot knife fighting.
Isn't that what Five Nights at Freddy's is? I don't know. I haven't seen it. Mascot knife fighting. Is that like bum fights?
Like the Philadelphia whatever.
Wonderland.
Oh.
Yeah, Willy's Wonderland. I just got into a discussion with that about which one was better, Five Nights at Freddy's or Willy's Wonderland.
I haven't seen either one of them because
Willy's Wonderland. I'm not a Nick Cage fan, but I'm liking a lot of what he's doing lately.
Because do you like that movie because he didn't say a word?
Yeah,
he was like that. He was almost like Ryan Gosling in Drive in that movie, but like with beating up. Yeah, it was.
I get it. There's a whole mythology of that.
Yeah. Speaking of Ryan Gosling, though, the Fall Guy trailer actually looks fun. It does. I want to see it. I was a fan of the show.
How many children with that feed, that budget?
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
I forget what the other trailer was that I just saw, and I was just like, what is this?
Is it the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
Yeah. Yeah. But I expect what I'm going to call generation loss, right? Where a sequel comes out and maybe the second one's really cool, but by the time you get to like 6 or 7, come on.
The only one that doesn't suffer from that, I would say, is Friday the 13th until you get to part 9.
Friday the 13th.
Just some.
What's that?
Just some.
Just some, yeah.
Friday the 13th. C1, C4, see Jason X.
Jason X is amazing. And the other show that I'm on, Tales from the Podcast, we're talking about that this week. Yeah. It is the best schlock film in fucking history. He just wanted his machete back. No,
yeah. It's great stuff.
Yeah, and I love telling people that just be careful if you're a hockey player, because
when my wife and I met, she came over and I go, "You want to see the greatest 15 seconds ever on film?" And she's like, "Yeah." She was a film major at USC. And I hit the button, and it was when Tommy hits Jason in the side of the head with his axe and his head shimmies
slides down. It was so awesome.
I love it. She was like, okay, well, let's go have dinner.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing is I get a lot of crap from people because my favorite is part 2. For whatever reason, and my favorite kill is
Jason finally shows up.
Yeah, my favorite kill is in part 2, and it is the wrongest kill on the planet when that poor guy in the wheelchair gets a machete, the back end of the machete in the face, and then rolls down the steps. I almost feel bad, but then I laugh. You know, because it's like,
did you put that in one of your intros?
It might have been, yeah. And the best part about that is I constantly think, like, Jason has got to have ridiculous cardio because he's got to go down all those steps to get his machete back and come all the way back up. And it's just like, apparently he's not that smart.
Get knocked down and get all the way down and all the way back up. You see John Wick 4?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
There's your extra half hour there, Keanu.
There was some amazing scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
in the house.
I think Stahelski is the bomb, and the fact that he's talking about remaking Highlander and Enter the Dragon.
Really?
Yeah, it makes me want to hump his leg.
I know a dog that humps its brother, and that's all I can think about now. Yeah, way to go, Lemmy.
Storm, baby.
I suppose. Now, what got you into? Because I know you're like really well versed in martial arts and knife training, and so what got you into that kind of stuff? Because that's I'm assuming you got a lot of cuts on your arms from training.
Yeah. My body, maybe? Yeah. We won't talk about my body. My body is pretty fucked up. No, it was. I grew up in San Jose, California, lower middle class. I had two sisters who were 4 or 5 years older than me, so I was always there when their boyfriends came over in the neighborhood. Blah 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 blah, and I liked to read and all that other stuff. So it was just
God forbid
that kind of thing. And then I got out of high school. I got into Chuck E. Cheese. And then after that, I went to work for the warehouse and got robbed. And then I went across the street to the record factory and got robbed. And then went back to the warehouse and got robbed. And then I worked for Tower for about 8 or 10 years. So after all of that, I thought, you know what?
I'm gonna buy New Age at Tower Records.
Figure this out. And so grew up in San Jose. I would go to Japantown, and we did a lot of kenjutsu, which is like more aggressive sparring, if you want for a better word. Iado, which is like, think about quick draw in the Old West.
Mm-hmm.
Who can draw the weapon, use it, and return it to its place as fast as effectively. Then I got married and went to work for record stores, Tower, and a lot of other of them, and started to have kids. And then later on, the whole funeral thing happened. I went to mortuary college.
Right. And that's it was in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And worked in that for a long time. Let's see.
How many people did you actually like put into the place where you could, work on them in the mortuary?
Oh, hundreds.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
Just
want to make sure you were putting all that fight into good use.
I've seen a lot of bodies. But anyway, so right around then, my kids were older. Started to go back, try to remember some stuff, and that led to Muay Thai with the guy who was a bodyguard for the royal family of Nepal, and that was fun. That was like a lot of hot, sticky places and just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Then we stopped for a little while, came up to Washington. I met a guy up here, Langley West, who I did a podcast with for a long time, and that led me back to Muay Thai. And then with Langley, it was a lot of Kali, Eskrima, Arnis, Panatukan, a lot of that kind of stuff, like Filipino boxing, which leads to knife fighting and all this other stuff. We did that for a long time, meeting at places like midnight. I used to call it League of Shadows. So we'd go out and meet at midnight and beat the shit out of each other for like 2 hours, and then I'd come home. We did the podcast a while. The podcast ended. We all kind of got old. And that's that. In the midst of that, there's like 10 books and 3 books that are all interview books from a magazine we did called Carpanoctum back in the 90s.
You do all your covers too, right?
Pretty much. I designed, yeah.
So you did the one for No Flesh Shall Be Spared?
I didn't do that art. No, a guy, Aaron Acevedo, did that.
Okay.
I paid a lot of money for that.
Was there ever any talk of turning that into a film or?
Yeah. At one point, coincidentally, I was working for Dread Central, and I interviewed Terry Castle, whose dad was William Castle, and we got along really, really, really good. And we just started talking, and I go, "Oh, I got this book out," because I was all hot and hotsy-totsy over my my brand new first book, which I thought I would be on the Daily Show any minute, which never happened.
Screw you, Jon Stewart.
Yeah, fuck you, Jon Stewart. So, what was I saying?
Terry Castle.
Oh, so she asked. She goes, I'm going to be in LA, and can I kind of shop it around? And so she took it to like, what is it, Dark Tower, the Sam Raimi production company, Rodriguez, a couple of other people, and they liked the idea, but they were afraid because Walking Dead. They thought, oh, Walking Dead's going to be the flash in the pan, and then everything else will just limp along. And who knew we'd be here later with, then I would have been a dick. If I had been back then, if they would have said, oh, what do you think about a movie? I'd have been so ridiculous about it. First of all, like I said to you beforehand, give it to the tie.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, weren't we supposed to get a third Raid movie, and we never got, or did we get it? And I didn't missed it.
They got rich.
Yeah.
Iko Awai and the other guy, forget his name.
Now, I think I've either asked you or Langley this before. Is there something that I could do, being a portly gentleman, martial arts wise? Because I don't have a lot. Because why not? I mean, I live in Wisconsin is not exactly as safe as they think.
I can send you some stuff.
Okay, cool.
There's some people out there that are doing really interesting things where they're blending. It's not mixed martial arts because everyone thinks, oh yeah, like UFC. It's like, no, this is more like, there's a guy, Frank, my brain is going. Anyway, he has security in Europe, and where his point is, I'm not going to pound you with my fists because I got to work tomorrow doing the same damn thing. So I'm going to take steps around it. It's not about ego. So it's like, if I need to remove you, here's how you do it. Because there's two parts of every physical altercation, right? There's the ego part, which is usually what gets you there. And then there's the other part that is the part of you that's like, hey, I don't want to hurt anyone, and I don't want to do that. So
right, yeah. I had somebody tell me
there's plenty out there.
I had somebody tell me like judo would be good for me because it's basically like using somebody else's motion against them. But
not to be that guy, but you have to decide: do you think it's important? If you got into a physical altercation, is it important that person that you're fighting live? Right. If you're not okay with that, then you shouldn't be there in the first place, because you never know. There was just a case today in the news where some guy, they were arguing about Israel and Palestine, and this dude cuffed this old man, and the old man went back and hit the back of his head, and that guy's going to jail for murder. So you never know. It's the more you know about those kind of things, the less you want to be involved with it.
Right.
Because what are we really talking about? Now, unless you're talking about the guy that slaps the Walmart greeter because he asked him to put a mask on, that guy's different. That guy's an asshole, and he needs the attitude adjustment. You know what I mean? So, but at this point, well, it's I stay home a lot, so just because people have become.
Now you're just working out with carbs.
No, I work out with I have 2 dogs.
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah. So now you mentioned the mortuary school. What got you into doing that? From like you're buying what soundtracks and new age stuff for Tower, and then all of a sudden, did working at Tower want you to be around dead bodies?
Want to die? Yeah. No, I got married, and when I got married, we had a son, and so I needed to work, and I thought, oh shit, I should get a career, right? Rather than just slinging albums and telling people that their musical taste sucks. So I looked around and was trying to figure out something to do. And when I was 15, we lost like 7 or 8 like close family members, like all 3 grandparents. And, it was like, so I thought, well, that was a really cool gig, because as I looked around, everyone was upset, and there was these guys that was, forging order out of chaos, and they were actually helping people who are visibly aggrieved, right? So
yeah, because you were a grief counselor as well. That's part of the whole thing.
Yeah. So I went to mortuary college with no background. I was the only person in there that didn't work in a mortuary. I went in there with hair to the middle of my back, and it was tough. That was a tough year. I had to commute from San Jose to San Francisco. It was like 50, 60 miles each way or one way. You had this massive educational load. You had this massive lab load, and it was grim stuff. They had the indigent contract for San Francisco County. So like everyone they picked up on the street came to us so that we could, air quotes, practice.
You mean do the work for free?
Yeah. And then we would also, for example, if someone had a small estate and no family, they would donate the estate to us, and then we would do a full service for them for free. So everyone would, and we would rotate around, like today you're the funeral director, today you're the greeter, today you have to I had to deliver several eulogies for people I never ever met.
Oh my god.
When I will say one time there was I made people who didn't know the guy cry. I was very proud of that.
Nice. Wow. Hey, that's awesome. That's
fantastic. But it was tough at the time. My wife was like, really? Like, I married a guy when she met me. I had hair for days. I was playing guitar in bands. I was getting near fist fights over who was the best guitarist in the world. That kind of thing. And suddenly I'm in this heavy world of, not only doing funeral arranging and funeral directing, but doing embalming and doing removals, where you're like going to people's houses and going into like, we had a contract with a local, it's like a rest home for clergy. So you would go to like the rest home of a bunch of nuns or a bunch of priests and do removals for that. And you're like, you'd be in their bedroom and going like, I'm the only guy that's ever been here. And that started a thing with me where I've become fascinated with like what's on people's tables and the backgrounds of stuff. Right. Like watching porn with me is really hard because I go, look at that desk. But it was great. It was rewarding, but it was hard because there was a lot of you standing before this like tidal wave of other people's grief. And that's hard. And so you either detach or you cut loose. And I cut loose after I was in San Diego working for a company. And they were trying to sell this idea of tell the client that it's usual for the family to include a single rose in the casket. And I'm like, where is that? Like, what custom is that? And they're like, confidentially, it's so we can get a flower sale. And I'm like,
oh
wow. One extra buck.
And getting yelled at because there was a boy and a girl. They lost both parents in a car accident. They had zero money, and they got.
Let's sell them a rose.
What's that?
But hey, let's sell them a rose.
No, but they were upset with me because I sold them the bottom. Like, this will get them into the ground, and
right.
Like, it's not going to break your bank. And they were like, "Oh, you should have sold up."
Upsell, baby.
Yeah. So at that point,
would you like a large soda with that?
Yeah.
Can you supersize the casket?
I heard a great joke. Maria Bramford today said, no matter how fat you are, if you go into a casket, sooner or later it fits.
Just a heads up to everyone who's watching. If you do have a question for Thom, please put it in the chat. And I will do my best to get it to the man himself. And Nate, we're going to have words. We're going to have words.
I have a question, though.
Yes.
Sure.
I know. I have a question. Would you be able to do my eulogy when I die?
Sure.
Because I assume I'm going to die before you.
I'm an ordained priest as well.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So am I. Yeah. So we could both do it. I'll talk about how you were always late and you're probably not really in your casket. I mean, come on.
So let's see. So after that, I got into sleep. my wife said, it's like, it's kind of the same, but these people have heartbeats. So I did sleep for a long time, and that was mostly overnights, apnea studies and narcolepsy studies.
Now, all this time while you're doing this, you're writing?
Yeah. Well, back in the 90s, we started Carpe Noctem.
Right.
And then when Carpe Noctem folded, and I then went to work for Fangoria and Dread Central and Twitch, 2005 or so, I had this idea for a 2,000 or 3,000 word short story that I was just going to bang out. And then it was published in 2010 at 160,000 words. And that was No Flesh Shall Be Spared.
Right.
And I'm not a big fan of the novel because I think they can meander and you can use it to your advantage, but it's kind of not the kind of writer I am. Like, I'm a big fan of like 40s, 50s, and 60s tough guy stuff. You see a lot of it in the new stuff. There's a lot of
like the noir type stuff, or would you say, or noir type stuff, or
yeah, it's tough guy stuff. There's a story, Lialta, in the new book that is very much that. And it's because it's fun to play.
And you can go find Tales of Lazzarato on Amazon today.
Yeah, today. Just came out today.
So go pick it up.
The Kindle is like $4.99 or something.
There you go. I get paid on Thursday, and I will be buying a copy.
Awesome.
Darn it. But I see what you're saying about like the short story, because it's way better. Like, you can concise everything, and you're not dragging things out. And
for me, it's like a Swiss watch, where everything, you can't fuck around too much with it. You have to know when you're going overboard, know when to hone it back. And it's funny because 99% of everything I do starts out as a joke or like a knock joke, or as a friend of mine says, you introduce us to really lovely people and really awful things happen to them. So now I have a Spectre. I did the second zombie book, No Flesh Shall Be Spared, Don't Look Back, which, funnily enough, Don't Look Back comes from, I was really afraid of doing that second book of Cleese and all the rest of that. So I named it Don't Look Back because Don't Look Back is the name of the second Boston album that came out, and it just really sucked. I was kind of like, well, just set your expectations for that. So I had the Spectre of the third one that I'll get to someday. But in the midst of that have been a bunch of short story collections, because I'm able to, a friend of mine said about love, you get in, you do a lot of damage, and then you get the fuck out.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So I kind of feel that way. And now it becomes topics, things that have struck my attention, or things that have mostly made me laugh. There is a story in horror book called The Appeal that came about. My wife and I were talking, and we were watching the first scene in Godfather, the Bonacera scene.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 days later, I handed her a story where it was that scene, but it was an elf that had come to Santa about how his daughter had been assaulted by humans. And like
he was trying to get Santa to
word for word, but it's the Godfather scene in it, but it's Santa Claus that's like at the end, instead of saying, give this to Clemenza, I don't want anyone to get carried away, he's like, give this to Bing and Bong. And I did the same thing with if you take Apocalypse Now and mix it with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's a story called Heart of Christmas. It's in Tuxedo Junction, where it's literally this elf walks up to a window and pulls the drapes back, and he's all, the North Pole. Shit, I'm still only at the North Pole. And so this essentially Hermie and his group take off across to go to the Island of Misfit Toys, because the king, the lion with the wings, has gone crazy at the death of his child. and he's just slaughtering toys. So he has to go upriver. And
I want those as like animated movies. Those would be fantastic.
It's just these little things that just come to their. I contend that at this point, I can kind of pick and choose. I had a massive writer's block in 2010 because my mom died, and that got really heavy. And that was when I dove into podcasting and did like the Night Crew for a while, and then we ended up doing bonus material.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where these little ideas would happen, and I determinedly pushed aside anything. Like I said to myself, if I'm going to do this, if I'm, for example, going to do a vampire story, I'm going to do a vampire story that is unlike any vampire story I've read. And having published Carpe Noctem for 10 years, I've read a lot of vampire stories. So I did one that was I thought, what if a vampire woke up and it was after nuclear apocalypse and there's no people, and all he has are these anemic cows to live on, and kind of turn it into this thing. And so you take these little moments and you just go like, let me put the screws to it. Let me take a ridiculous idea. In Moonlight Serenades, there's a story called Clown Town. That is speaking of film noir, it's based in a world where social structure is dictated by what kind of clown you are. So like Harlequins are the 1%ers, and then beneath them are like white faces and rodeo clowns and scary clowns. And at the very lowest, think Black people in the Cotton Club are mimes. And this murder takes place at this bar called Marceau's. And these two clowns show up who are cops, and they enter this room that is alive with music and with all of this stuff. And they just sort of go around from group to group to group. What did you see? What did you see? What did you see? As they work to solve this murder. Everyone told me that wasn't going to work. But
it sounds amazing. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's fun. The thing that's really fun, if you go to my website under writing samples, there's the opening of it. And I spent a long time looking into 40s, air quotes, jive speak and circus lingo. So things were like Jeep and Jake and
like Carney, do you mean? Or
yeah, like circus talk, like hey,
everything's like Pig Latin almost.
House is open. What's that?
Yeah, everything like kind of Pig Latin almost in a way.
Yeah. It's all like uses that lingo. I can't remember any of it now, but it's on my website. And
that's ThomCarnell.com.
Yeah, Tom with an H. There's also, if you go under some of
Tom, like the guy from Radiohead, Tom.
Yeah. If you go under some of the tabs, like the bonus material, there's 200 episodes with interviews with all sorts of people, like crazy people that we got in there. Giovanni Lombardi Radici at 4 a.m, just bananas stuff. We did one episode. We were talking about John Amplis before we came on, but
right.
John wanted to come on, but didn't want to come on and talk about Martin or George Romero. So there's an episode where we talk about the gangster film with the guy from Martin, and it was great.
They're perfect.
John's awesome.
Since you are like, I like to think that I know a lot about film trivia, but you are the don't look behind the curtain. You're Oz when it comes to that kind of stuff. He was the casting director on something for George. Was it Dawn? No, it wasn't Dawn.
No.
It was, but he was casting director for something.
Yeah, I don't know. Vanilla, maybe. There's always whatever. There's always.
And I actually like the Crazies a lot. People always give me shit for it, but
I actually like the remake too.
I didn't hate the remake. I didn't. It definitely didn't have the same. Yeah. It could have been way worse than it was.
Yeah.
It could have been.
So
way
I think
worse.
at this point too, with genre, it's like I don't even want to hear about it. Like the next Saw film, I don't care. Like I don't care about series. I don't care about I don't want to watch hours and hours and hours and hours. I want something different. Show me something different where you're taking something that I should be okay with, or that happens every day, and just pinch it a little and put the screws to it and turn up the volume.
I like Jordan
Again,
Peele a lot.
in Tuxedo Junction, there's a song. There's a piece called "The Honeydew," and it all started because my wife told me to go take a. She has this trick with a chopstick you put down and you spin it, and you can pull all the hair and gunk up out of your shower. And that's where that started. I was in the middle thinking like, this really sucks, and I was high, so I was like, what if it reached up and grabbed my hand? And
boom.
2 hours later, I had that.
It's the little things that really make thing, you know, and your when you when you were talking about how you spent time picking up like the 40s lingo and stuff like that, it made me think of the story I wrote that I didn't know anything about voodoo. And it was right after I saw the movie. It was right after I saw the movie Blackout with David Carradine and Richard Widmark. Great movie, except you can see the fucking boom mic like 8 times in it, but whatever. But it was like I saw it really young, and seeing David Carradine with that leather mask on was just like, what? But I totally stole the whole setting your family up dead in the basement watching TV with the air conditioner cranked up to kind of keep them preserved. And but I wanted it to end with some voodoo. So I reached out to a friend who knows about voodoo, and like we spent 20 minutes on the phone talking about how this has got to happen and this because she's from Louisiana, so she knows a lot of that stuff just by proxy.
Yeah.
And it's and I actually I'm one of those assholes that has master classes and maestros, whatever, from like the BBC. I have Neil Gaiman's and I have Alan Moore's. I don't need anybody else. And Alan Moore says you can never do too much research when you're writing. Oh, never.
Yeah. You won't use
never.
You won't use all of it.
And I looked at IMDb real quick. I looked at IMDb and it says that Amplis was the casting director for Dawn. I thought it was somebody else, but yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Give you a hand there, Ron.
Thank you. I looked it up. I know how to work things. But yeah, like I mean, Alan Moore. I think. What are your thoughts on people like Alan Moore?
Genius. And you know what? People should just
leave him alone.
You just leave him alone. Him, Neil Gaiman. You know, Neil has put himself in a position now where he can do pretty much what he wants.
Right.
But that guy's in an elite group in my mind because he back in like the 90s. I met him at a con and just had that quality where it was just like you'd meet him and just for a second and you would feel like you were the most important person. Clive Barker has that where you just feel like, oh, I'm the most important person in his life right now. And you're not. I told him, speaking of Barker, I told him once, I go, if that's real, I'm impressed. And if it's fake, I'm even more impressed. Yeah. But it's amazing. You try to do it because like, the people that like your stuff, you gotta honor that.
Yeah,
like they're to not only find your shit, but to buy it, to read it, or to look at it, or to watch it. And
then they took the time out to come up to you and talk to you and interact with you about it. That's even it's like there's like the comic shop I go to. We've had plenty of people who have done stuff that of minor notoriety in the area, and well, I'll tell you off the air who it was, but he comes in there and he had like a huge fucking head on him, and he wasn't humble at all about it, like saying, "Oh, well, you need to put my books up in front so people can see them." It's like, no, that's not how it works. I go and he doesn't sell shit. Somebody else comes in, doesn't sell shit. Same thing happens. I go in there with the Tales of Shock and Terror book, and I think I've sold there, I want to say 50, 60 copies. Just from the 2-3 signings I did on my own. And then every time I give them a copy to sell, it goes right away. And it's not, I don't think it's one of two things. Either they understand that I wrote this because I love doing it, and I'm not like being a fucking prick. I'm looking at you, Tom Matthews, and I see that smile. And or they are speculating and they just want the first issue because it's the first issue and something might happen. And you know how people are, when it comes to comics, but yeah, no, I have a real issue with Tom Matthews.
Yeah.
But that's for off the air.
Yeah. We were talking about it a little bit before, but we started, but like, yeah, I mean, at this point, don't even get me started on culture, the idea. All right. This is how this works.
Oh, here we go, boys and girls.
I'm a promoter, let's say, and I want to put on a con. So the first thing I have to do is get a venue, right? Right. So I go to the venue and I go, I need this much space for this long a period of time. And they go, great, you're going to owe us $10, whatever. So then you go, okay, good. So then you go out and you start selling, or I go out and I start selling off the dealer's room. Right, $100 here, $300 here, da 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 da. And in the midst of all of these people that have paid their good money, are intersprinkled, air quotes again, stars or celebrities. Hi, I was the fourth zombie from the end in the original Dawn of the Dead. I have photos. You see, this is me. Oh, they're $25, $30 if I sign them. You know. So so you get there on the backs of the small business person, the girl who makes earrings, or the guy who etches, leather bracelets with copyright infringed pictures of Freddy on him, whatever.
Right.
But you get there because of them, and they stand there and watch people file past them and want to get photos with, I don't want to name any names, but imagine the third or fourth name on any horror film casting call, and that's who we're talking about. So, and I get it, girls got to eat, don't get me wrong, but here are these other people that brought you, Mr. Promoter, to the show, and they're getting fucked. And why are they getting fucked? Because as a fan, what do I want more? Do I want that bracelet with Freddy, or do I want my picture over there with the third zombie from the left? From whatever, because at the water cooler, no one's going to give a shit about this bracelet, because when I show them that picture, they're going to go, wow, look at you rubbing elbows with the celebrities. And meanwhile, there's that girl over there with the earrings that is like, I don't know if I'm going to make my table,
Yeah. Yes.
I get it partly, but then you look at the deals that some of these celebrities are getting. They're getting guarantees. They're getting all the money that they're getting from signatures. I saw one who I won't name, but they were on Walking Dead in a very minor thing, had a table at a con. She had this plaque up and it was like photos, this meet and greet. And I walked up to her handler and I go like, what's a meet and greet? And he points and the girl,
it's a handy in the back.
She reaches up, shakes his hand, goes, hi, $10. It's like, I remember going to cons in the 80s, and this is going to be an old man story, watching Rodney McDowell all day sign things and talk to people, take pictures, hug them. And if you would have said, dude, let me give you like a 10 spot, he would have been insulted. Cut to today, and it's like, oh no.
You can't even look at him without a 10 spot.
Yeah, and I don't get it, because these people are there to tell you that they love you. It's not a financial thing, or it shouldn't be.
Right.
Fandom shouldn't. It used to be, I talk about this a lot, but I think fandom used to be about what was in your heart, and now it's about what's in your wallet.
Yep, 100%.
I'm a big fan. You can tell, because look, I have all of this bullshit up on my wall. Okay, but then it goes into like, I've lost friends over my opinions of Star Wars. So
don't get me started with Star Wars.
We won't go there. But the idea is that, like, dude, it's just
yeah, no.
So that's why about a year ago.
Same thing happens in the comedy world too. Like big stars. Like you have J.J. Walker from
Good Times,
from shows from Good Times and stuff like that, who charges for every picture or to meet somebody after the show. Then you have somebody like Steve-O, who's, let's say, a little larger celebrity-wise because of Jackass. He will stay after his set and talk to everybody, sign things without a charge, because he already got paid by the club, and he's happy with that, and he wants to connect with the fans. And it's like he stayed one time from after the show to like 4 a.m, so he got to see everybody, and it's like that's who I want to be.
And that's something that I think that fans will remember more than having to put money down to get a signature for somebody. You know, they're going to remember the person that didn't charge them anything. You know, like I remember I won tickets to go see Aisha Tyler in Chicago. And I went down there and I went with a buddy of mine. It was a 2-drink minimum, whatever. And after the show, she was like just meeting fans and stuff. And she didn't charge anybody for anything. And she even took a picture with me and remembered me from Twitter. Like, oh, hey, I gotta walk up and she's like, oh, hey, Ron. I'm like, huh? What? And now it would be like, oh, hi, Aisha. Because I am the host of the Ron Pertee Show. But yeah, con stuff aside, we don't have much time left. So let's talk about Tales of from the Lazaretto.
Okay.
You wrote this during COVID. Now, how much of it?
I thought I was being so clever. I was like, oh, I'm going to publish a book about all the things that I wrote during COVID and lockdown, and I'm going to put them in the book as I'm finishing them. So it doesn't. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just like this is what the direction my mind went over that span of time.
Well, how much was COVID impacted you when it comes like the lockdown? I guess.
Nah, not at all.
I just put them out. I just wrote them like that. There's nothing about it.
I don't leave my house. I'll be honest with you. I go outside once in a while with my wife to go to like downtown for dinner or something like that. But other than that, there's nothing out there that I have interest in.
I'm noticing that as I get older, I don't want to leave the house. I'll go to the comic shop and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, we'll go. It's not like we're hermits and stuff, but although some of our friends might say that, but my wife's very, very social. And so, it's like, oh, we have to go to this party. So we go to this party and then she'll find a corner and go, just loom here. So as the stories in the book are again, all over the place. There's a lot of my work, a lot of the thematically, there's a lot of death. There's a lot of zombies. There's some tough guy stuff. There's a couple of things I don't know where they came from still to this day. There's a story called The Mumble that is, I had to put a trigger warning on that one.
Oh boy. We actually have a comment real quick here. Paul Billups, who is a big fan of my stuff. I don't know why, but thank you. Great episode. Thank you, Paul. His wife's an author too.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
awesome.
They just live down the street from me.
Excellent. So in the midst of all that, and everything I wanted to do a Korean ghost story. And so I did that. It's a thing that it's kind of obliquely has to do. Are you familiar with the hikikomori?
A little bit. My brother is a huge Korea nut. Like not like the K-pop stuff. He doesn't give a shit about any of that. Well, he just like his
hikikomori are Japanese, and what they are children that have, for whatever reason, fallen between the cracks, and they live in these little tiny homes or they still live with their parents, but they don't go outside. They're shut-ins. So I kind of got interested in that, and then I added the Korean ghost story aspect. So that's a story called I'm going to screw this up. Hijyojin. It means the something. We'll
say that was the proper pronunciation.
Yeah. And so in the midst of all this is a lot of this book has a little more sexual stuff into it. There's a story called Bearing the Bone. Has to do with sex in a graveyard.
I like how both Nate and I both gave like the same look when you mentioned the name of the story, and it's like there's more sex. Is like bearing the bone. What?
Yeah.
Sex doesn't sell.
Let me buy that book.
The first film treat thing I ever sold was about a fetish group that met online that focused on zombie girls that were tied to a bed in the house. And that one, man, my wife got really mad. She was like, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to you for." It was fucked up. But I sold it to a guy, and he's never made a film about it. Let me see. I'm just looking at the table of contents. There's a story about me working at a funeral home, selling people property. It's called real estate, where as a part of it, you have to take someone out and show them, like, this right here in front of us, that's your grave. and that gets heavy. That kind of a thing. The oddity, there's always one oddity in the group, and there's a story called Pawfly. I was taking care of my granddaughter who I had left sleep, and I kind of lost the thread a little bit, and things got a little squirrely for Tom. And then my granddaughter and my wife started bringing my granddaughter over, and then we started just to hang out, and she's my best buddy. But we started to watch Paw Patrol. And so I started becoming very vocal as I got more and more frustrated. Like, who funds this? Like, who gives a helicopter to a dog? And so Pawfly is a story. The pitch on it is Paw Patrol meets Barfly.
Oh, Jesus.
So now it's Ryder, who's an adult, sitting at the end of the bar, like sucking down drinks, railing about the fucking mayor and her chicken.
I'm buying this. I'm going
It's
on
fun.
Amazon right now. Yeah.
I love this stuff. As silly as I can get it sometimes. There's a story in one of the first book called Amplexus about a about a guy. I'll clean it up. About a guy.
No, you can. No, this is your. Consider this satellite radio.
Family podcast.
You shut the fuck up.
So Amplexus. Guy goes out in the middle of the night. He's standing there. He's kind of drunk, drinking a beer, and so he jacks off, shoots his shit all out onto the lawn. Doesn't think twice about it. Goes back, goes to bed. A couple of days pass. He's laying there in bed, and he starts hearing scritching and scratching all over the house. And suddenly, big reveal at the end. Spoiler.
I think I know what you're about to say.
Baby human frog kind of amalgams come crawl. Like at one point he lifts up the covers and this thing is like crawling up his butt.
Daddy.
Don't know. Yeah, exactly. It's literally, and they're making these weird blorpy sounds. Yeah. It's fun. Those are the kind of things where you're literally, it's like Wrightson's guy at the organ just cackling away.
I got two more questions for you, and I'll let you go. First off, do you have a favorite in the collection, or do you just love them all? Like one that you really want people to read? Yeah, the new one. Lazaretto.
Oh, there's a story called Stuck. About a girl who is stuck at her dorm over Christmas vacation, and she goes into the basement to do her laundry, and something bad happens.
What? In one of your stories, something bad happens?
Yeah. Some of the things I'm excited about are I have several stories about marriage that are really fucked up. I'm also very proud. There's a story called Assyrians. It's in horror book. It has to do with hunger, and I was doing fasting, and they talk about as you fast, your brain as you become hungrier and hungrier, your brain sharpens so that you're able to hunt and do whatever. So put that in the hands of an artist who's getting some of his best ideas while not eating. And then the horror of the story comes in when he goes to try to start to eat and can't. He can't keep anything down. Ooh. So it's like dieting on. And in the midst of this, where the story's being told by his best friend who had to go identify the body, but he's sitting in a Denny's and people are all around him are eating. And he's waiting for his food and, sipping coffee as he reads through this guy's diary. And that's fun.
It sounds like a blast. It does.
They're fun. I love I call them shitter reads. They're like, you can sit down and take a dump and.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you mentioned tough guy stories a lot. So you're a big fan of noir, correct? Mm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I got to ask you, in my mind, what my favorite noir picture, and I know it's not really like technically noir, but the way it's shot and everything, Night of the Hunter. What do you think of that movie?
I'm sure. Elsa Lanchester's William Lawton directed that.
Yep.
It's a beautiful film. It's not. You're right. It's not really. I'd throw it into the ring. Things like Out of the Past with Robert Mitchum, Jean. Tournier, something like that. The guy,
I think so.
Anyway,
I mean,
yeah,
it kind of seemed that story kind of seems almost up your alley, like something you would write, which
sure.
is a compliment. Don't worry, it's not a it's
there's a where is it? In one of the books, there's a story called Sovereignty, and it's about a guy who in a prison who was given the opportunity to get out if he murders someone. And so they sneak him out of prison and take him downtown, and he murders someone, and then they take him back. Yeah, it's really fun. I love that stuff. Don Hamilton. Donald Westbrook. Anytime you show me a book and there's a lantern-jawed hero on the cover like this with a gun, I'm in.
So a lot of Darwin Cook stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That said, I'll give you a recommendation that
please.
I just finished earlier today. It's called The Survival of Margaret Thomas. It's by Del Howison.
Okay.
Del is the proprietor of Dark Delicacies down in
in
LA.
Los Angeles. Yeah.
It's a beautiful book. It's a Western. It doesn't get action-packed till the end, but it's a beautiful book. I don't put things in my library, but as soon as I done, I went over and set it in there. I have a box center here that I just throw shit in, but because I read a lot, I constantly have right now I've got 2 or 3 books going. Including, I'll show you this. This is fun. The Funeral Home and Cemetery Directory of every cemetery and funeral home. I'm doing a book based on my time at Mortuary College. I'm pulling together a questionnaire, and I'm going to send it out to a couple of hundred people in the mortuary business. Just how did you get started? What's your weirdest case? What's,
Ooh, yeah.
And that's going to be fun. So that, in closing, I'll say I'm working on that. I'm working on another short story collection called Open Late, which is a fun idea. It's a diner in the middle of the desert that people arrive at a
so there's a connection to every story.
Yeah, so there's like a rainy night, and as people come in and out of this diner, everyone has to tell a story. And then I just now finishing up something I've been working on for a while called Monolith Records, and it's a novel set in 1985. Our young hero is hired at Monolith Records, which is essentially Tower Records. And he gets indoctrinated into the culture, and just madness happens.
Like you do at a record store like that.
Yeah, all of it's true. I pitched it as Empire Records meets Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Ooh. Can't stop here. It's jazz country.
Yeah, it's literally it's 1985, and it's essentially how I met my wife, and people cry at the end. That makes me happy.
Oh, that's perfect then. That's perfect. And I want to and go to Amazon right now and get Tales from the Lazaretto. It's not a very expensive book. But it's a fantastic read. Based on what you said.
Latte.
There you go. Perfect. Skip your fucking pumpkin spice bullshit. Buy the guy's book. I mean, what the hell? I mean, Starbucks is going to survive without you for one day. They'll overcharge and get somebody else's name wrong. And visit ThomCarnell.com, go into writing samples, check out the clown. I'm very interested in that one. I didn't even realize that was
fun stuff. All I know is that I'm having a blast, and
that's what's important.
And no one's dictating. I'm at this point in my life. I do my books. I do a radio show here in town.
You self-publish then, right? Or
oh no, I'm available through Crossroad Press.
Oh, perfect. See, but they're cool enough to help, but they're still not like dictating to you what they want. So
they pushed back a little on the cover of Lazaretto, and they were right, because I had this super gothic-y font and blah blah blah, and he's like, it's going to be this big on the screen, so we got to just simplify it. And he was absolutely right.
Right.
They've content-wise, we've never had a disagreement, and I've turned in some fucked up shit.
That's what an artist looks for, is somebody who's just gonna take their stuff and roll with it. You don't want to have a lot of creative pushback from your stuff.
Right. And we've been at this for a while. Like, we started publishing in the 90s. And so, like, I know a lot of artists and I know a lot of people and I know a lot about art and about a lot of this other bullshit. So I keep doing it for other people. Working for Fango and working for Dread Central was doing it for other people. It's like, I'm going to just do it for myself.
Right, exactly. I do have one last question before I let you go.
Sure.
When they asked you to interview me, I'm always wanted to ask you this, and I figure I got you on the spot. When they asked you to interview me, what wasn't going through your head? Like, who is this fucking piece of shit from Wisconsin making a fucking video on a movie on his flip? I know.
It was literally like, okay, send me a link. And they sent me a link, and I go, I'll talk to this lad.
The lad.
Like he also put a gun to his head, too.
I believe that. You can still see the imprint on the side of his head.
I'm trying to think if I've ever. There was a couple of times it's gotten unpleasant. Danny Filth, you prick. Danny Filth made me stand out in the rain and then turn for like hours and then turn down. Then like, I don't feel like doing the interview, motherfucker. Wow. Yeah, and then Anyway, I could fill you up with interviews.
We'll save that for the. We'll save that for your next
podcast.
Yes, that's on the next appearance. But everybody head over to ThomCarnell.com, and you can get all the information for the new collection from there as well.
Everything's there, including. Here's a tip: if you go to ThomCarnell.com/KMRE, there's like almost 200 episodes of my radio show, and it's music you'll never.
This is true.
Ever hear or have heard, I guarantee it.
Yeah, I've listened to an episode and I was like, what the fuck am I listening to?
It's fun because
Carnell knowledge. Yeah.
I don't have Carnell knowledge. I don't have a program director and I have never had a conversation about content. So I played everything from like Korean music to there's this great band I just found from Serbia.
Really?
Awesome. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You'll have to tell me who one of the Korean artists is, because like I said, my brother's big into Korea, and he's not like
Shin Hyun Lee. He's a guitar player, like a surf guitar player from the '60s. What's really cool is the Cambodian music from the '60s, because there was a big scene there, and then the Khmer Rouge came through and slaughtered everybody. So a lot of the music was lost the time until someone found it and then started putting it out. There's a great documentary on Tubi about it, and it's great. Tinny guitars and kind of sing-song vocals, but it's surf music, man.
That's awesome.
It's cool as hell.
That is fantastic.
Why can't that happen now?
I know. There are surf bands out there.
Slaughter some musicians.
Yeah,
I mean there are a lot of musicians that need slaughtering.
Yeah,
that's very true. That's very true.
I didn't know where you're going with that. Yeah.
No, and then we'll slaughter them, and then in 50 years we'll be able to listen to their music, other people's music. That's fine. Whatever.
There's so much music out there. There's so much books out there. There's so much film out there. Like I talk to people all the time and they're like, oh yeah, I know everything about movies. And it's like, well, do you know anything about Malaysian film? Because that shit's the bomb. What about this? What about that? Talk to me about
like I told you. Yeah, when I told you earlier about Mystics in Bali, the guy I showed it to likes to think he's not. I'm not saying that he claims to be an expert, but he had never heard of it. And I mean, I had to hear about it secondhand from somebody else. And that movie, it's on YouTube. Just fucking watch it. It is the most amazingly fucked up thing you will see. And this is coming from a guy. It's good. Well, okay, there is one movie I can never watch again because it fucked up my head. Threads.
I didn't see that one coming.
Cruising.
What, Carl, you
Al Pacino.
I saw that in the theater. Like, it was really super uncomfortable.
I bet. Well, you say that. You say that. I took a date to go see Django Unchained on Christmas morning or Christmas evening. It was Christmas Day, and we were the only white people in the theater. And then N-bombs are flying left and right. And I'm like, oh, great. Oh, so. It sounds like Quentin Tarantino just came all over Eli Roth's chest. Anyway, I didn't say that, but
my wife was a complete pacifist. One of the first movies we went to go see was Apocalypse Now, and she got up and left. And I was like, it was me, her, and a bunch of our friends, my guy friends, and she's like, when they shot the girl and the dog, in the little boat. She got up and left, and then I was like, oh, and I looked at my friends, and there was that moment where you go,
do I follow her?
Do I follow the girl?
Yeah.
Thought, well, none of these guys are going to suck my dick, so I'm going to. I'm not kidding.
And that's the best. That's actually probably the best way to end it. Thank you so much for being here, Tom. Check out ThomCarnell.com for all the information and pick up the new book. It is just come on and buy all those also. I actually have No Flesh Shall Be Spared, and it's a fantastic read. So definitely pick this. And you're welcome back whenever you got something that you're promoting, Tom.
I'm a river to my people.
That would explain why my ankles are wet. But thanks so much for being here, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye. All right. Now, Nate.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to beat you with a stick. No. What happened? Where were you?
So trivia went a little crazy tonight. Had a very awkward team. So you're supposed to have up to 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the rules, especially during tournament time. And so the finals are almost here, and this team came in with 12 people. And there were other people part of the tournament who complained that there was 12 people. But it's a small little restaurant, so I couldn't split them. Like if they wanted to split the team, I couldn't put them in a different table or anything like that.
Right.
And so they promised me that 4 people would not participate.
And then, you gotta watch this. That's yeah.
And then they proceeded to be loud, and so nobody else could hear the question. So I had to repeat myself, like, "Hey guys, it's a small venue. Your voices carry. If I'm on the microphone, I'm asking a question, and so to hear the question, you gotta be quiet."
Right.
And I did that 5 times throughout the night. Then there was a discrepancy on a question, and so we kind of got into an argument.
What was the question?
I'm gonna give you the points. It was a question about it was a pyramid question, so there's clues leading up to the answer, and it was about a men's basketball team in Kentucky, the Kentucky Wildcats. And the question is, what is this men's basketball team name? They put University of Kentucky, but I was looking for the name of the team, which is the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, every team has a fucking name. Like there's the Wisconsin Badgers, there's the the East Michigan University Eagles. It's.
And so the answer that was provided for me, what I see in front of my eyes, was Kentucky Wildcats. Now there was another team who won, which I thought they put down Wildcats, but it was like a scribble. And so I ended up going, listen, I'm gonna give you the points, but you're still in second place because you missed 2 other questions.
Right.
Oh, okay. We just want the points because it adds to the
overall
going to the finals of the tournament.
Right.
And so it was just this fight. It was like this is not fun. Like in fact, at the last question, I go, it's the last question. Thank God. I said that out loud up through the mic. Thank God it's over. And so where this place is, it's near BSU, Boise State University.
Right.
Boise
and what's
Broncos.
their name? There you go. There you go.
Broncos. And so some college thing happened. And so there was traffic trying to get out and almost hit a few college kids. I didn't care.
Fuck them.
Going.
Their degrees in communication aren't going to matter. Did you inform them that you had to be on the hottest show on the internet?
Yes. I yelled. I screamed.
And you know what you missed?
I flipped off a lot of people.
You know what you missed?
I missed probably that dude is so I could listen to him for hours.
Tom is amazing. I've known him for years. He was the first person to ever interview me when I did, for doing anything creative. I was, and we've been friends ever since. And but what you missed, sir, is the announcement.
Oh no!
Your boy got laid today, son. Yes. Yeah, I know. It's shocking that it would happen. Oh my God, his penis. Somebody touched his penis.
Pigs can fly.
They can.
Nice.
Yes, I
thought you were going to say you got on Sirius XM because I signed the petition and shared it.
That's the thing. Okay, if you're listening to this, I'm actually looking at the camera now. If you're listening to this, please.
More puppy eyes. More puppy eyes.
Yes. Please tweet at Sirius. Tweet at people that you might know that work for Sirius and tell them about the Ron Perti Show and how we would be an amazing addition to their slew of shows. It would be fantastic because then we could get paid.
We're not going to take up too much of their time,
just an hour a week.
A little spot.
Yeah. Unless they say, well, we'll give you, a couple $grand a week and you got to do an hour every day for 5 days. Okay. If you're going to give me a couple $grand a week, sure. Yeah, but we'll see.
Oh, the other issue tonight.
Yeah. And I came home fucking happy as a clam and then ate 3 turkey and cheese sandwiches.
No, normally the prize is a gift certificate for the venue.
Right.
When they play at venues. The owner decided to get these tickets for the Egyptian Theater for a Christmas movie marathon on December 31st at 11 p.m.
What the fuck?
So New Year's Eve, Christmas movie thing, and a lot of these people in the bar industry. It's like,
I think John Taffer needs to come in there and say, "Shut it down! You're going to get people sick
so it's
of your bullshit."
So it's like, cool prize.
Yay! Because I love fuking Christmas
movies.
movies.
Off my bill next time. That's what I want.
Right? It's like, I don't know if you watch Red Letter Media, but they did a review of the Ghostbusters 2016, and one of the questions was, they said, if you're on bar trivia and you had what 2 franchises did the Sony Pictures really fuck up when they tried to bring it back? If you answered Ghostbusters and Spider-Man, you won a $50 bar tab.
Now, I enjoyed Afterlife.
I did enjoy Afterlife because it felt like the original, and they weren't trying to hide the original happened. And I don't know.
They did some special work. If you haven't, I don't want
to. We'll not spoil it. But you know what?
Back a certain person.
They did it, and they didn't do it where it was ostentatious. It was very tasteful.
Yeah,
no, it was very tasteful. They didn't have somebody come in and do his voice or anything. It was just like, wow. And also, Paul Rudd does not age. I'm pretty sure he's a fucking vampire.
Dude, Paul Rudd is my hero. Like, anything he's done, even if it's a shitty movie, he does well in it.
Hey, Clueless!
And then the running gag on Conan has always been my favorite running gag.
Oh, the Mac and Me?
Yeah, just every time.
Are we going to have... It's your final time on the show. Are we actually going to have a clip this time? Yep, it's really the clip. It's Mac and Me.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
It was
fucking brilliant.
So beautiful.
Oh, man.
And it did it for decades. Or
yes, and it was my favorite Conan thing is the walker lever.
Yeah.
And I remember when they're like, okay, well, we're cleaning everything out. And they showed that Walker clip. Walker said, I have AIDS. It's fucking beautiful. It's fucking beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It's fucking fantastic. But yeah, this was a fun show.
I apologize to all of Ron Perti's fans for being
That's
late.
Right. The tweets were insane. They were like, "Where the fuck is Nate? Yeah. Is he on heroin? Yeah. Is he betting on horses or something?" They thought you became Artie Lang.
The Pertians, I am so. We're gonna workshop what your fans are gonna be called.
Right. Awesome. That's what we're gonna call my fans. Awesome. That's what we're gonna call them.
Thank God.
I don't know why I'm getting sound clip, but I know there's somebody watching. I think they're watching. I think she's watching, and I know that she loves like inappropriate humor, especially my inappropriate humor. And this is for her. So, and I also so I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank Thom Carnell for being here. Check out all of his stuff. He's an amazing writer, an amazing person. Man's got a fucking stories for days upon days Watch the social media for who might be coming on next week. If not, we're just gonna bullshit and talk about stuff because that's what the Ron Pertee Show is. We're fun and we're all about having fun, motherfuckers. Yeah, really aggressive. Have fun. Yeah, I
think he's aggressive because he got his dick. So, there you go.
Hallelujah, a brother about to have some sex.
Yeah, that's what I pictured. That's what I pictured when he made that announcement, like a gospel choir behind you.
No, I actually said I want it known on November 7th, in the year of our Lord 2023. Yeah, boy, got laid. I should have prayed.
Election day, no less.
That's right. Day. My poll came up. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
This has to be on the deleted scenes.
Oh no, this is staying in. But no, okay, mainly because we're live. Yeah, but kind of hard for people who are But all right, everybody, I want to thank y'all for being here. For Thom Carnell, the amazing Thom Carnell, sounds like a magician. The amazing Carnell. And Nate
He is
Ford.
Amazing.
He is. He's fantastic. Just check out his stuff. And the Wish version of my amp, Andy Richter. You said it, not me. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
Now you gotta start your own. You gotta start your own show and talk about people's emotions. Remember that podcast?
Yep.
Like, okay. Yeah.
Well,
perfect.
I'm gonna first attempt to be on 60 different TV shows,
and I'll have them all fail.
Starring myself.
Yes.
But all fail. Yeah.
And they'll all fail. Yes. Yes. And they'll all fail. But all right, everybody. For Thom Carnell, for Nate Ford, thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and don't forget, eat the bread.